Hello and welcome back to An Unpolished Earthling. Today we're continuing on to our second clip about the manifesto, Gaia United, a pragmatic path to a healthy future. Today in this hopefully shorter clip we will just be going over the introduction, which is itself a form of an overview. Now, long-term possibilities, no matter how small the chance of success, are the fulcrum to big changes. I heard that from Mike Lipton at the Power Within seminar with Bill Clinton in 2006. The possibility to be achieved in this vision is presented in Part 1 of the manifesto. The strategy for achieving it is outlined in Part 2. Part 1 explains the workings of a global direct democracy centered on ecological footprints as a means to ensure the health of our biosphere and the survival of our species. This direct democracy also allows the greatest possible individual freedom within reasonable ecological constraints, which simultaneously puts everyone on an equal starting point. Now, having this vision in mind is great, but the idea alone is not enough to affect reality. Part 2 expresses an ambitious plan to implement the vision of Part 1. This section involves many independent projects, which taken together will make our goal realistically achievable. The first step is to establish an organizational and promotional website. This website will serve as a base of operations to coordinate the rest of our plan. The next two steps are the promotion of the project through newspapers, magazines, radios, television, movies, websites, events, plays, and speeches, and the construction of a second major website. The promotion will be ongoing throughout the life of the project and will take many forms and will for the most part be done independently. The second website will be the centerpiece of the plan. It will be designed to administer the global democracy outlined in Part 1. By themselves, the two websites and a hearty promotions campaign have the potential to successfully achieve our goal. However, there are some forces, namely the inertia of our current paradigm, which will work against this revolution. To provide greater incentive to change, another fairly unusual approach will also be taken. This last part of the plan is the construction and sensationalization of the most desirable luxury resort city in the world, which will simultaneously be completely self-sufficient and fit within an acceptable ecological footprint. Acceptable means sustainable. Now, the city is designed to challenge a widespread fear, the perception that in order to become sustainable, materialistically affluent people would have to abandon all of their luxuries and live in a near subsistence state. This fear arises from the illusion of consumer choice as being the implement by which we should become sustainable, for there is no combination of green products on the market today that would allow even a middle-class Westerner to become sustainable whilst maintaining their material standard of living. The fact that technologies and methods to provide even higher material standards of life, not to mention vastly superior qualities of life, have existed for over 35 years is a truth that is little known to the masses. By using these technologies, as showcased by Jacques Fresco's socio-cyberneering, to design our luxury eco-city, we will make it clear to the world that becoming sustainable is an opportunity for a dramatically positive revolution in our infrastructure, architecture, and lifestyles. This should eliminate the fear noted above. The city also has another rhetorical purpose, its monetary cost. This last argument is perhaps the most controversial in this plan. It is to say that unless we abandon our current global economic system, less than 0.5% of humanity will be able to afford the transition from obsolete infrastructure into new cities of the kind that socio-cyberneering prescribes. The rest of humanity will be left to realize their fears of entering a subsistence lifestyle once fossil fuel infrastructure grinds to a halt. For some, this lifestyle would be desirable, but in most large cities like Calgary, the population is too large and too dense for the local natural resources to support. In these areas, chaos and population decimation could be expected. The argument takes this form. If the cost of building one new city for 1 million people in the current economy is around $1 trillion Canadian, then the average home would cost in the order of $1 million. Using Calgary as an example, where the average person in Alberta has $20,000 of debt, moving from one home to another requires that one sell their old house to raise the necessary funds. If everyone in Calgary wanted to move to a new city, and no one wanted to move to Calgary, then homes in Calgary would be worthless. Calgarians would be reduced to their debt, and their only means of entering the new city would be through monumental bank loans, which no bank is obliged to grant. Therefore, unless you have the liquid capital to afford the transition, you will likely be left behind. At present, less than 0.5% of the Earth's population has over $1 million in liquid capital. Once this argument is made explicitly clear to the masses, hopefully they will realize that it is in their best interest to adopt the global democracy outlined in Part 1 of this manifesto and abandon the old economy and governmental systems. Once that happens, the real fun begins. We will get the chance to collaborate and decide what we want our future to look like. After that, we get to work on making it so, without having our efforts hampered by outdated economic and political mechanisms. So that's the introduction. Now you have a rough idea of what we're about to get into with this manifesto. Next episode, we will look into part 1. Thanks. Hope to see you soon.